Shabbat Shalom. You know, we are beginning the second book of the Torah. It's called Shemot. In the Hebrew, we give it always the name of the first words that they come, Ele, no, Be'ele Shemot. And then now we call it Shemot, the names. In the Latin way, that was in the Christian way, was put the way, the name Exodus, or the living out, exit, you know, from a place. The first book, the Bereshit, the beginnings, talks about the foundation of the earth, the creation of the earth, and then goes to talk about individuals. It's talking always about individuals. Here in this second book, looks like they're going to talk about one individual that is always mentioned, Moshe Rabbeinu. But it really is going to emphasize in a peoplehood, in a group of people that are going to be Israel. And this term Israel has caused a lot of confusions and a lot of misunderstandings. And sometimes, all depending who tell you, all depending how do you read it, all depending how you want to accept it. You know, I used to say, my father used to say to me, son, be careful that there are many untruths that are repeating so many times, so often, that they become truth. You know? And you need to be careful to discern about a true and an untruth. And sometimes the most difficult thing to discern is what I call a half-truth. You know, why is so difficult to search in half-truth? Because it has a little bit of the truth. And then when you start separating the truth from the non-truth, sometimes you cut also the truth. Sometimes it's difficult. Then you need to come to really look deep in the scriptures. The scriptures were given to us, were passing to us. We think that the Creator had a reason to give it to us, you know, to guide us, to lead us, to go to the right way. Today, what is happening is that there are many people who say that they follow the scriptures, or they follow the Torah, or they follow God. You know, and each one does whatever they want to do. There is no order, there is nothing. It's what I think it is. You know, and sometimes not what you think it is the truth, even if you think it is true. You know, you need to be clear. And how many of us, think about this, how many of us we have been followed a lie, thinking that was the truth? How many of us we have been deceived by people that of goodwill? You know, how are you going to doubt about this person? He or she doesn't want to teach me anything wrong. Totally the contrary, wants to give me the best. In this community, I as your rabbi, I have said to you, I have my own ideas, I have my own understanding, but that's not Torah's understanding. You need to go back to Torah and check it. And whatever I say to you and doesn't go with the Torah, erase it. Because our witness is the Torah. But the problem sometimes is, how do we interpret the Torah? You know, what I say, how many times I have heard a lie and has accepted. No, or no a lie, but something that is not true that has been changed to give you a different understanding. In this portion that we are going to be talking, is going to develop the idea of the people of Israel and how come into fruition and at the moment of getting out of a situation that's very difficult. Now the question is, why Israel needed to become a nation in slavery? You know, when they left the promised land, Jacob and the 70 members of the family, you know, I want to tell you one thing that is very important to understand in this narrative. There were not exactly 70. Okay? There were much more than 70. What happened that those 70 were what I would call it, they trace the lineage through, but they had servants, they had workers, they had everything within, they had animals, they had everything. You know, there were more than 70. And then they come to this land and they're received in a very cordial way by a king of Egypt that was nice to them because of Joseph. And they start being fruitful and they multiply. Even in the scriptures, interestingly enough, you know, the word that is used about that they grew up, you know, this is Yisresu. And you go to Bereshit in the first chapter, verse 20, you're going to use the same word, you know, Yisresu. And in some of the English scriptures, it's translated as swarm. No? And in today's colloquial way, we can say they grew up like a rats. No, you couldn't stop it. They grew up in an incredible way. They multiply. They're like rabbits. That's nicer. Thank you. Thank you. Rabbits. But believe me or not, the term is not a very polite, very nice term. It's almost despective. Grew up without order, and they multiply. And sometimes we think multiplying is a blessing if you do it without order. When there is disorder, there is chaos. And Israel, little by little, was getting away from their creator and their forefathers, to the point that looked like they forgot who the creator was. And Moshe Rabbeinu is going to have, in this encounter with the creator, when he has this theophany of the burning bush, and then he sent him back, and he as a reluctant leader, because he was reluctant. And this brings to my mind about anybody that wants that is capable to be a leader, usually doesn't want to lead. And why? It's because the responsibility behind, and because the people that he needs to lead. And look at what is the people that he needs to lead. The people of Israel. He, prior, in the younger age, he trying to intervene, helping his own people. When he saw and went to the camp, to the field, and he saw an Egyptian abusing of the Hebrews. And he killed the Egyptian to help his own people. The next day he goes back and he sees them fighting. And he tried to separate, and they say, who do you think you are now want to kill one of us? You know, and he realized that even his own people, he needed to run away from them. Because they were the ones that are going to betray him. You know, I always say to you that this book of Shemot and the book of the Yexiah, the exit, the going out, speak very loud for today. And we have a parallel not long ago that had happened, almost 70 years ago, a little more, about the Shoah, the Holocaust. And I always compare these two situations. And Israel has had many of them, by the way. They're coming back to the land. But this is more recently, the Holocaust, you know? And the Shoah is impregnated right now in our minds. And we're going back to the promised land. We enter to the promised land. And we have supposedly conquer the promised land. And what is happening now, we are living in very hard times. And one of the reasons is Israel is so divided. Israel is not united. And the worst enemy of Israel is not the outsiders, not the foreigners. The problem in Israel are the Israelis. I used to say, I love Israel, but one problem of Israel, there are too many Israelis. You know, I always tell everybody the story about President Nixon and dear Golda Meir. When she became the Prime Minister of Israel, he sent a note. My dear Prime Minister, I want to congratulate you for one. And here, the president of this great nation, the number one nation in the world, United States, I am here to give you advice in any time that you need it. And Golda Meir answered to President Nixon, I am so delighted, you are so kind to me to give me your advice. But you in the United States, you are one president for 220 million at that time. In this country, I am prime minister for 7 million prime ministers. Then there is a little difference. You know, in Israel, everybody is a prime minister. Have you heard the idea or that saying, to use 3 opinions? Can you imagine they can put together and they can get in certain agreements? What the Creator was trying to do with Israel at that time. Little by little, he isolated. The word isolated in the Goshen. And they enjoy a wonderful time of growing. And they were getting together. But as more time was passing by, what was the problem with Israel? They were getting more and more and more and more assimilated. To the point that they were losing who their true God was, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Almost has disappeared the idea, the God of Joseph. And they become more and more and more Egyptians. Compared with today, Israel, even that is in their own land, what is the desire of Israel today? To become more and more and more like the other nations. And doing more and more than the other nations, what they are doing, they are eliminating or forgetting the true God. Blessed be his name. The Boreo Olam, the Tetragrammaton, you head, but head, that is how it's going to be, saying, this is my name. And the people of Israel grew up, and the Creator realized that it was time for them to live. And the only way that he was going to be able to get them, he can pull all of that, but they realized that maybe it's time for us to leave, is to make their lives impossible. And there came a new king in Egypt, who didn't know about Joseph. You know, this law Yada, he didn't know him, doesn't mean that he didn't know who was Joseph, in the sense that he existed or didn't exist. But he was not acknowledging what he did for Egypt. And he didn't have any respect for these people, and totally contrary. He saw people that were swarming. That's the word that is used, swarming. And he said, uh-oh. And you are very careful, if you read it, he said, what are we going to do these people that can join to others? And then they're going to get war against us, and they are going to leave us. Very few people read that little phrase. He wanted to keep them as slaves. That was cheap labor. You know, he was no somebody who was crazy. He wanted to keep it, but exploiting them. And you know what happened with Israel? And that is the problem of many of us. We are content in the evil situation that sometimes we are on the oppression situation that we are. If I can live, that is enough for me. We don't have even desire to prosper. We don't have even desire to do better. You know, only they don't push me too much. If they give me my food and they attend my basic needs, that's all I need. And today the world is going in that direction, by the way. They are selling you a lie that somebody else who is in the top can think better than you to arrange your life. And we see it all over the world. They call it socialism, they call it pluralism, they call it progressive, and they call it liberal, whatever they want to call it. Why? Because I always want somebody to do the thinking for me. And I teach in this community that you are the only one responsible for your own thinking and for your own actions, nobody else. And that many people don't want to hear that. No, Rabbi, you told me so. And wait a minute. I can tell you many things. I am very human, and sometimes I am wrong. Then you need to check it. I won't lie to you, but doesn't mean that I'm going to do sometimes tell you something that is true, because sometimes I am wrong, and when I am wrong, and I know that I am wrong, I need to clarify it and tell everybody. That's my job. Well, you see here these people that were more depending on the king of Egypt than depending on their own capabilities and depending on the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Be very careful, because sometimes we have this idea of eulogize, to exalt these people. But to me, we're in the bottom. They were in the lowest of the lowest at that time. Why? Because not even in that moment, they complain. But you never read there that they asked the Creator to deliver them. But it was the Creator who heard his cry, their cries. And he went and participated, and that's the reason I brought Moshe Rabbeinu. I need to bring a very special man. A man, look at Moshe Rabbeinu. He was educated among the most educated people. He grew up in the court of Egypt. He grew up with the blue blood people. Even though he was no one of them, he was considered among them. But he never forget where he came from. But then his own people betrayed him. And he went, and he left, and he ran away. And it's the Creator who brings him back at the age of 80 years old, just as young as he could be. Any of you that are younger than 80 years old, you are still too young to be a leader. Okay? You pass 80 years, now you're ready. But what did he say? Say, with these people, I don't want to come back. I don't want to go back to them. They are not for me. How many of us, we know where we are coming from? I like what our dear Ketura has mentioned this morning. And what's so interesting, how many of us, who are we? How many of us, we know where we are coming from? How many of us, we are not in a state of depending on others, but I can still thinking and looking forward to grow. Because when you become dependent, on others. That freedom that the Creator has given you, you behirach of she, is curtailed. And this is not to be proud or to be stuck up, but it's to know that you have a responsibility. And I see this over and over and over again with many of us, that we have given up, and we need a shock of energy, of transformation. And that's when the Creator comes and put you batteries inside you and recharge you. And then you wake up from, look like a lethargy. You are like a dreaming or half asleep. And suddenly you wake up. And you look back and you say, what I have been doing all my life. And the transformation comes, and it's a process. But how many of us today, at this moment that I am talking to you, we still have things from the past that are holding us back? How many of us, we don't think we are capable to do something because, oh, that is not for me? How many of us, we are our worst enemy, that we limit ourselves in what we can do? No, that's not for me. Do it to somebody else. See, even our own Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to be the leader of this nation that was Israel. And I cannot call it a great nation at the moment. Great maybe in number, but no in capability they could do at the moment. They were totally defeated. He goes. The first time that he goes and introduces himself is a totally bad experience. To the point that their own people, his own people start blaming him again. What you're going to look at what you have done. Now the Pharaoh is even worse with us and we suffer more. He goes back to the Creator, and what he does, he complains. Why do you send me to these people? And here is the idea about what is the name of the God who sends him. Eye, Asher, Eye. And he said, my name, Anohi, my name is Adonai. We say Adonai, but really is Yud, Het, Bat, He. Yud, Het, Bat, She. And most of the people, because of our sages, because of our dear rabbis, with the time, they have created, and this is the problem when I say, when you learn something, that it is not the Torah, but it becomes pseudo-Torah. And we have been taught that we cannot pronounce that name. And the whole Torah and the whole Tanakh speak out about mention his name. I can give you thousands of, at least hundreds of reference in the scripture, where say specifically to mention his name. Why? But they had a good idea. You know, in Pirkei Avot, they say that we need to, around the Torah, we need to make a fence, a sayag. And doing this fence, you know, we protect ourselves not to fail the Creator. And one of the things that they taught it is we cannot pronounce the name of God. And you know, we just read ourselves in the 10 commandments that we do every Shabbat. What do you say, the verse 3? The third commandment, the third commandment. Lo tisa es Shem Adonai Elohecha. You shall not take his name in vain. Take his name in vain. Doesn't say you shall not pronounce his name. Today, the Hebraists, they are trying to look for how to pronounce that name. Some people say Yahweh, and they have come to the idea that the best way to pronounce it is Jehovah. But you cannot say that. And they have created a trauma in our people. And that doesn't come from the Torah. It comes from men. And this is the problem when men become greater than the Creator. And the Creator needed to take Israel from that. They were already making men greater than Creator. Pharaoh was greater than the Creator. And took them out, and little by little, they needed to regurgitate. They needed to be cleansed from inside out. And this is why the Creator, in a very, what do we call it, patient way, with a lot of care for His people, little by little is going to be taking them away from the idolatry that they had already taken inside. You know, my second son, when he was born without being able to breathe. He had swallowed the amniotic liquid inside his lungs and everything, and he became maroon, you know, and he was going to die. And came a doctor, interestingly enough, an African doctor, and he saved his life. And you know what he did in order he could breathe? Put a tube and aspirate. And that gave me this illustration. How many of us we are being shocked by all the trash that we have taken inside. And we need an aspirator to take away all of those things that we have inside us. And this is why the Lord, our God, blessed be His name, He is going to use Moshe Rabbeinu to little by little extract all those things from Israel. And it's a process of little by little. He's weaning them out from idolatry. And this is so important that we need to understand that we need to go through that process too. How many of us we are still accepting the rules and regulations of men without thinking what is the Creator's area? You know, and I want to tell you one thing. I am not against tradition. To me, tradition is good when it helps you to exalt the name of the Creator. Blessed be His name. But when tradition puts down the Creator or turns you away from the Creator and make you think that you are following Him when you are following men, that will be totally different. And we are right now in this battle, getting out of Egypt. And this is my challenge to you to begin this book. How much of Egypt we have still inside us? And how much we need to regurgitate and take it away from us. That will be my challenge during these weeks. I am going to be constantly asking you how much you have from your past inside you that doesn't allow you to see with clarity what is ahead of you. Our fears are from the past. But if we look ahead, we have everything in front of us. There is never too late to change, and there is never too late to open our eyes. Let's continue this journey that we are, last week I mentioned I titled the blog, life is a journey, not the destination. Let's start this journey together. And we are going to see in this journey many things that are stopping us. And look at it and deal with it. Our fears, our things that we do not know, to try to learn more and to grow up. And you're going to see how we are going to be different. May the Lord add blessings upon His word, and we see you. Shabbat Shalom.